Katie and Emily, welcome to Second Nature. We're here today to talk about Founded Outdoors, and I'm so fired up because I think almost everybody in this audience probably either has worked with you, wants to work with you, or will hopefully eventually one day get a chance to work with you.
Hope so. Thanks for having us, Aaron. We're happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron, for having us.
This is going to be super fun because I think there's a lot of insight, a lot of success stories, a lot of inspiration, aspiration that we can go through. But I'd love to hear just sort of the origin story of Founded Outdoors. How did you get the ball rolling with this thing? Where was sort of the spark that got this thing off the ground?
Happy to share, Aaron, and I will take you back a little ways to my burgeoning interest in entrepreneurship. So when I was in college, I studied government, but I was really disillusioned by the inaction that I saw in Washington. And I became really obsessed with how entrepreneurship is a mechanism for people to solve the problems that they see in their communities. So, this bottoms up approach to problem solving. And so after college, I worked for a travel company, and then I ended up in San Francisco, which I saw as the epicenter of entrepreneurship and innovation. And I started working for and eventually ran a tech incubator in San Francisco called Runway. And at any one time, we supported about 60 to 80 startups, providing co-working space, connections to mentors, investors, events. While I was there, I became very aware of the gender equity cap in venture capital and how far fewer dollars women-led companies were getting from investors. And so I started a company focused on very early stage women entrepreneurs with my longtime business partner, Enhao Lee, with the goal of providing a platform for women to get the validation they needed to have the confidence to invest in starting their businesses. And several years into that, I was getting a little bit antsy for a new direction, and I was surfing. And I thought, is there something that's even more passion aligned that I can do? And I thought, why not explore that program for outdoor entrepreneurs that I've been thinking about for the last several years? And so, with that inspiration, I started a Facebook group for outdoor entrepreneurs. And I talked to the first 50 people that joined that Facebook group. What I was trying to understand was there existing support for outdoor businesses, or is there a desire for more support? And overwhelmingly, I heard that outdoor businesses needed more support, needed more resources, more industry connections, more community. And so that was the inception of Founded Outdoors.
Very cool. It started as a Facebook group. That's fascinating. I'd be really curious to hear from you, having gone from sort of this women-led working specifically with, to empower them and to give them the resources and help them get that running start in a major way. And then compared to sort of the outdoor industry, what were sort of the ways that you saw either to compare or contrast those two? Because I wonder if because especially the outdoors is so passion driven, is it maybe sometimes even easier to get resources allocated because people just, for example, love surfing or love running and they're willing to cut a check? Is that something that you see, or maybe what are the differences between those two?
Yeah, actually, I would say that in my experience, it's the opposite. There are a lot of resources for tech entrepreneurs. And the reason is, right, software companies can scale at this hockey stick type growth rate that venture capital investors are willing to invest in because there's huge upside for them. And with investment comes value add support like industry connections, like communities of founders, expertise. In addition to investor interest in tech companies, service providers were also really interested in supporting tech startups because if they build a relationship with them when they're at their nascent stage. When they become a unicorn, that could mean a ton of money in business for a bank or an accounting firm or a law firm. When it comes to outdoor businesses, especially the product companies, they don't follow that hockey stick like growth trajectory. And so it's much harder for them to get investment. And service providers are less interested in putting money in because they don't think there's as big an upside down the road. So that was the gap that we heard about and that we saw and that we have been aiming to fill with Founded Outdoors.
So I'm guessing that that first 50 founders that were kind of joining in there were probably more of a physical goods thing. That's sort of what you're saying also, of like the ability to scale also requires inventory, requires a lot more investment with not a exponential return like you would if you were doing software.
So in our community, it was a range of types of outdoor businesses. So physical products, as well as digital apps, marketplaces, service providers, guides, CPG companies, a huge range. But for all of those companies outside of the apps, the digital companies, scale looks a lot different and typically does not follow the exponential trajectory, as you mentioned.
Absolutely. So I want to bring Emily in now too. So Emily, how did you kind of get involved with Founded Outdoors? What's the origin story of the partnership here? So Katie starts this Facebook group. It starts growing. There's 50 people joining in. Where did you come in on the whole program?
Yeah, around the same time, I had left my corporate job and I was trying to be a full-time podcast consultant. And so I also started a Facebook group for outdoor podcasters. And it was like anyone who even wanted maybe to start a podcast one day in the outdoor space, but then folks who have definitely been in the space for a long time. So I think if I can, I mean, I'll toot my own horn on Katie's behalf. I'll do it. She saw what I was doing over there because I invited her to the group, and we had not really met or engaged in any way. And we started to talk, and she asked if I would come over to the Founded Outdoors side and start to manage their community. And so it started in Facebook. And then, as probably everyone knows, Facebook groups are rough. And we moved everything over to Slack within the first year of working together. And we've been working together now for 3.5 years or something along those lines. Long-term relationship, me and Katie.
That's right. And it was very obvious from meeting Emily how thoughtful she is of a community builder. And so we knew that Founded Outdoors could really benefit from her for her skills and her personality. And so we have been thrilled to have her on the team. And we have a very vibrant community at Founded Outdoors. And so much of that is due to the heart that Emily invests in building it.
This is great. I'm just going to play that back for anytime I'm feeling down. That's great.
Where did you want to go with this thing? So obviously building the community was important. And I think there's a lot to offer up to the founders, right? If they have sort of a cohort that they're building with, they're learning from. Where did you want to see Founded Outdoors go after you kind of began to get some momentum? You know, you switched over from Facebook to Slack and this thing started kind of gaining momentum. As you're kind of entrepreneurially growing this group and developing, you know, this brand and everything, what was your vision for those next steps?
So for me, I think the vision was evolving. The way that I like to start companies is by allowing my customers to lead and really understanding what their needs and pain points are. And so my approach was listen and try to get a deeper understanding of what these founders want.
What are some of the common themes that you've been seeing, especially when people first come into that community? You know, I've got to imagine that the Founded Outdoors community is a bit like an oasis where people are probably just like in the desert trying to survive. no map to know where they are going to go. And then they find this community loaded with people who are outdoor entrepreneurs, and they now have resources. They have a community they can kind of build. What are those common sort of first awakenings that you see happen time and time again as people kind of enter the community?
Well, I think that a big reason why How and Katie started Founded Outdoors was because they also saw not only the gender gap of like resources that were being given to male versus female, but also like other marginalized groups. And so the goal of the community side of things for Founded Outdoors is to remove that gatekeeping and make it super accessible to get resources. So when people come in, a lot of them will say like, I can't believe I didn't know about this for this long. So that's one thing we get. But another thing we get is in that we hear anecdotally, but also is just kind of, if I could be Gen Z for a second, a vibe that we get is that there's a lot of value in them chatting with other founders, sharing their knowledge with each other, learning from each other. And some of the most, I think, moving and impactful events that we run virtually are some of the times that the founders can help each other and they can provide ideas that might work. Of course, we bring in experts and we have these people who are really well-versed in certain spaces, but what the real magic of that community is really the founder to founder relationship. So we do a bit to cultivate that manually and then also through our events. We do some like connection matchmaking on a weekly basis of like, oh, this is a surf company. Maybe there's like a new skincare company that's targeting surfers that's in there. Or they should connect. Maybe there's a collab there in some way. Or in our founder roundtables, we'll have people come up with challenges, not come up with, they have these challenges. They're not making them up. They share their challenges and we have folks like really try to understand the context of their challenge and then share ideas that they would try or things that they've thought about. And the reaction that we get from those interactions are, well, very meaningful to me. And I know Katie too. But I think that's like the main thing when people come in, that's very welcoming and feels really good to them when they've been maybe doing this solo for so long.
I've got to imagine that's got to be the best feeling to get to that point, to have access to all that stuff. What does it look like for someone who joins Founded Outdoors? So what are sort of the different resources? You mentioned you have like the Slack channel, and you have I think you mentioned there's like a round table that happens. What's sort of what could people expect if their brand is joining Founded Outdoors?
Yeah, and first I want to say that we have gone through iterations of what they can expect, right? And we're constantly trying to evolve and do better and better for the members. In fact, only like a year or so ago, we were still letting aspiring entrepreneurs into the community and service providers and or freelancers. And what we were finding is that those are kind of three different groups and hard to provide value for all three. And so me and Katie read a book called The Art of Gathering, in which she talks about the art of generous exclusion, which is meant to set up spaces, community spaces, so that they can really thrive with the value that's specific to them. And so I just want to kind of lay the groundwork there. So people that come into Founded Outdoors, they need to be at least working on their business idea. So that means like business plan, prototype, something that's like tangible that they can bring into the community. And they must be, their main category has to be the outdoor space. So those are the two main parameters. Of course, there's other things we look for, like, are they the founder? Are they part of the founding team? Things like that. But those are our main two. So then when they come in, I feel like I'm doing the new member meeting here. I'll just tell you what I say in the new member meeting. They come to a new member meeting. And the goal of that is to really do exactly this, is to tell them what they have access to, help them connect with founders right away, and make sure that if they have any questions, we're kind of checking that off. So yes, they have access to the full Slack channel. We have a weekly newsletter. So if people are like, I don't like Slack, that doesn't happen for you, Erin, because everyone in your Second Nature Slack group is popping off all the time in a great way. Very vibrant community. Good job. If people don't like Slack or they're just like, that's not their native thing that they want to be on, we do a weekly email. I'll write usually a musing that I have from the recent week, and we have a digest in there so people can click into the conversations that are most accessible and relevant for them. Then we do virtual events every month. We have a quarterly summit where we do a meet and greet, and there's a fireside chat with one of our founders, and we do an expert Q&A. We have founder roundtables that are more of that, again, like peer-to-peer problem solving, which is great. We have the Ascent series that we just started with Garage Grown Gear, which is a monthly event in collaboration with Lloyd Vogel over there. Big shout out to Lloyd. He's a Second Nature fan. So thought I'd give him a shout out here.
We need to have him on the pod. He's on the list.
Yes, he would be great on the pod. And then we do in person as we can. So let's say Katie and Enhow are going, to Seattle for a work trip. They might get people together kind of ad hoc like you did for people in Portland, right? And then at Switchback in a couple weeks, we'll do a happy hour with our members that are there. So there's a lot that they have access to when they come in, but we have a very specific onboarding process. So we try to make it not so overwhelming and very welcoming and exciting place.
It seems like such a great resource, especially if you're trying to build and grow the business. Katie, I'd love to hear from you on maybe your favorite success story that's come out of the last 3 or 4 years.
There are so many. I mean, even if you look at our community, there's so many examples of meaningful connection, whether it's folks meeting online and then getting together in person and going on a bike ride and getting to know each other better and sharing business insights, or whether it's coming to one of our peer groups and sharing how a founder has to fire their entire staff to try to remain solvent, and having the support of other founders in the group to help them navigate that hard time. Or even if you look in our Slack now, there's a great thread where founders are talking about the challenges that they're experiencing given the current regulatory climate. And entrepreneurs are in there rooting each other on, reminding each other that we are not our businesses and we have separate identities, and our worths are separate from our businesses' ups and downs. And so I think those are examples of just the value created by the community. And so much of that is because of the foundation that Emily has laid with this, with her very thoughtful onboarding. And then from that has come so much organic connection and relationship building.
I know you can't have like a favorite, like I didn't have any favorite athletes when I was at Red Bull, but when it comes to the brands that have come through the program, can you maybe share a success story of somebody who came in and had sort of like doesn't necessarily need to be a turnaround, but you got to watch them kind of grow into where they are today?
I was giving you my political answer to not have to give you one favorite, but no, I'm happy to do so. I have so many. So one company that is really special is Conscious Gear, started by Charlotte Bowens. She was in our first Embark cohort. And Charlotte had never run before. For health reasons, decided to get on a treadmill. And very soon after that was running marathons and ultra marathons. And when she went to the store to buy hydration gear, she didn't find anything that fit her. And so she decided to start a company that provides hydration vests for bigger bodied athletes, and for athletes who are bigger bodied. And she has been very successful. She's now in REI, and she's an entrepreneur that I am always rooting for. I can give you another example of a team that I think has a lot of potential to grow. Two brothers, Alex and Jonathan De La Fuente, and they are based in Arkansas. They live together. Jonathan is an engineer and a photographer, and when he was out adventuring, he was always taking photos and video of everyone else. And so he wasn't really able to enjoy it as much and be present in the activity. And he also realized that people loved this. People loved having their photos taken as they were going off their favorite jump. You know, they could send it to their friends and their parents. And so they started a company that provides photos of athletes. And they partner with mountain bike and action sport parks. And they have been doing very well. They successfully raised a pre-seed round and are in talks to partner with a number of parks. And so I'm personally excited because I love sharing photos of myself with my parents, of me doing something cool. So
just got to make sure it's not too dangerous, because then parents start to worry and then they're like, okay, I don't need these anymore.
That's right. You got to be wearing a helmet too.
Yeah, exactly. And the company name for them is High Tag.
Can I give you a couple more?
Absolutely. I just love listening to these, kind of aspirational, like what are people doing in the outdoor? Because I think we see the challenger brands. We see the big ones that are making noise and doing stuff, but I feel like the real stuff that's happening that probably actually impacts the local, communities and stuff like that. This is it. Like, this is where it's actually coming from. I don't see some of these big challenger brands going to Arkansas to launch, things and hire a bunch of people. So I'm actually really curious just to hear more of the people that are in there. So by all means, go for it.
Yeah, happy to share it, and couldn't agree more. I think these small businesses, the outdoor startups, are the DNA and the heart of the industry. I mean, for one, they have a really strong pulse on their communities. They're very close to their customers, really understand what they need and want. They are also super nimble. They can move very quickly. They don't have to get approval or sign off from 10 higher ups. And they can take on more risk than a bigger company. They have a lot less to lose. And finally, they're really passionate, right? They're passionate about their customer. They're passionate about the activity. It's that, I feel, is a formula for creativity, for execution, for innovation. They basically do the R&D for a lot of the bigger businesses in the industry who eventually acquire the ones that are successful. But happy to share some more examples. Sarah Chen has a company called Pangu Apparel. Sarah is a rock climber, and she realized that most rock climbing apparel was being designed by companies led by a very homogenous group, white men. And so she started a company to design climbing pants for and by women. And after our program, she successfully launched a Kickstarter that raised over $100,000. And she has a very, very successful social media. Her authentic storytelling has attracted a large audience, and an audience that is looking for something different in the rock climbing space.
Is there a theme? Are you seeing people in specific verticals joining Found Eight Outdoors more than others? Like, for example, there was some runners, there's a rock climber. Are you seeing it pretty evenly spread across all the different verticals, or what are some of those trends look like?
I would say so. I think it's kind of the more common theme is that there's a problem to solve, and this person has felt courageous and confident enough to try to solve that problem. So on a weekly basis, when I'm going through, our applications for the community, there's surf, bike, run, general outdoors is probably a larger contingent of our community. But then we have, ski folks, snowboard folks. We have, backcountry meals, so food products as well. And those could be used across different categories within the sports. So we are seeing that it's really, I think, pretty widespread beyond the general outdoor category. Maybe is like 30% of the overall. Yeah. And before we go any further, Anna, I just want to sort of delineate two things for Found It Outdoors, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So Found It Outdoors is actually two-pronged. So I just want to make sure when we're talking about one or the other, we're like on the right page. So we have the free community, which is what I manage and what we've been talking about for the most part. And then we have the partnership side. And that's where our accelerator programming with REI is in place, called Embark. And it's also where we partner with state-run groups. For example, we just got back from Alabama and doing some teaching for aspiring entrepreneurs there at their first outdoor recreation summit. But we've worked with like Maine, Vermont, Michigan, of course, Alabama, and we have some talks with some of the other states as well. And so we work with states in order to help figure out programming that's specific to the needs in their actual region. So I just want to delineate, we sort of have the partnership side of things and then the community side of things as well.
I want to hear more about this REI thing. Can you go a little bit deeper on that one? That sounds really interesting.
Yes, gladly. And actually, can I also take a step back with Founded Outdoors?
Of course.
You asked about the vision, and I think I went in a different direction, but the vision for Founded Outdoors is to make it possible for anyone from any background who has the vision and determination to start a thriving and soul-filling outdoor business. And the reason we're doing this is because building a business is really hard, right? There is a lot of uncertainty, regulatory uncertainty, industry uncertainty, product uncertainty from all directions. It's very isolating to build a company. Family members, friends often don't understand it. It's not a traditional path per se with one right path. It is, we have to wear many different hats and implement many different skill sets, which it's hard to do all of the things and do all of the things well. And it can often feel like a slog. We think of entrepreneurship in the media as this romantic thing where it's an overnight success, but often it takes decades to be successful, and founders will pay themselves very little for decades. And so the founder journey is really hard. There are a lot of ups and downs. Founded Outdoors wants to be a place to help people be more successful and have a better journey. And so what we do is we provide community, we provide guidance and programming, and we provide industry connections to try to help these outdoor entrepreneurs succeed.
That's, you are solving a problem for a lot of people, just like they are going out there and trying to solve problems. And I think the downstream effect of that can't be understated or overstated, I should say.
It's a lot of fun because we get to hear about so many different ideas, products, services, geographies, outdoor activities, customer groups. It's really dynamic to be in our position, and we're constantly learning. So I feel very grateful to be able to be on the journey with all of these entrepreneurs.
I feel like if I was in your position, I'd be like doing the galaxy brain thing all the time. Like, hey, you know what else you could do since you're working on that? I would find it hard to like not get involved,
Well, yeah, it is hard.
You're like, hey, have you thought of this yet? I think our role as advisors is not to tell business owners what to do, because they're the ones that have the expertise. They know their customers, they know their businesses better than we ever will. But it's to ask them their strategic questions to get them to answer and find direction. And so that's what we do. We provide the strategic questions to give them a bit of a compass.
Very cool. Okay, I need to know more about this REI
thing now. Okay.
So, because I think that's sort of where you're also going to, of like the industry connection. There may not be a greater connection than like the outdoor store that can put, a brand new fledgling company's product into mega distribution. I mean, I could see the pros and cons of that, but clearly there are some mega pros that come with being able to be plugged into an outdoor retailer of that size. So I guess I'd love to know, even, how did that come about in the first place? And then what does that look like for the partners that are engaged with you?
Yeah. Okay, how did Embark come about? Well, when we had our Facebook group, a member of our group, Yvonne Liao, she sent me a job description. REI was hiring a director for their accelerator program. And that was at the same time that we were thinking about launching an accelerator program. And so we're like, okay, we have to talk to REI and see if there's some way to collaborate. So on LinkedIn, I reached out to Susan Viscon, who posted that job description. And I was like, "Hi, Susan. I am really excited about what you're doing. We're interested in doing something similar. Here's our experience. And let me know if you'd be interested in talking." And she reached back out, and we got on the phone together, and we started designing the Embark program. Embark is a 3-month-long program for outdoor entrepreneurs of color. It is a partnership between Found Outdoors and REI Co-op Pathhead Ventures. And the way that it works is we take 20 founders through a structured curriculum, and it ends with a pitch day. The benefits are community of founders invested in your success, industry connections, including to folks at REI, mentorship from a number of different domain experts, marketing experts, brand experts, and financing. So REI provides a small grant for companies that participate. The aim is to provide a critical mass of key business building resources and a mechanism of accountability to help these founders grow their companies more quickly together than they would alone. And ultimately, we want to help these companies level up, whatever that looks like for them. Maybe launching a product or expanding to a new geography or expanding to a new product or service.
I'm curious just about accelerator programs in general, because this is obviously one that you've partnered with REI, but talk to me a little bit more about that, because I think you have all these different things that you can do, but what's the why behind an accelerator program? Why should companies be kind of searching these out to be a part of, and why would you be doing more of these things? It seems like there's a lot of extra work that comes into it, but give me a little bit more on the accelerator program.
Sure. First reason is it often feels like you're building alone when you're an entrepreneur. And so an accelerator program offers an opportunity to build with entrepreneurs and with mentors who are invested in seeing you succeed. So one is to have company and support. The second is you have to have so many skills, as I mentioned, to build a business, wear so many different hats. And an accelerator program brings in mentors who have all those different skill sets so that you can access their expertise. And third is that accountability mechanism. It's you, in order to keep up with the material, have to be implementing what you're learning. And so there's this urgency to grow during the program. And that's why it's called an accelerator. It's accelerating growth faster than you would if you were building alone.
Is that common, like you mentioned on the REI one, where they actually provided some funding for all the participants? Is that pretty common in accelerator programs, or is that sort of a special one-off that they're able to do?
It's pretty common. Financing can look different in different programs. It can be investment in return for equity, or it can be a no strings attached grant. And there are accelerators that don't offer any financing. So it depends on the accelerator.
In the editing world, we call it a reign of terror, where you lock the door and you don't leave the room until you're done editing the video. And this feels
Sounds so fun.
It feels very similar in that you just put your head down for a set amount of time and just push as hard as you possibly can. The idea of having some help during that phase has got to be, nice to balance the whole thing out, but also, wow, like so much, even more work than you were already doing. Like we've definitely, I think, made the point that it's really hard to start an outdoor business. It's hard to start any business. It's difficult to be an entrepreneur, but you're going on extra hard mode when you go into these situations, I think, sometimes too.
Yeah, and we focused a lot on the hard parts, and there definitely are no lack of hard parts, us three entrepreneurs here on this call. But I think there's also something there's so many great things that outdoor businesses and entrepreneurs unlock for the rest of us that aren't even that obvious. And so that meaningful purpose, I think, drives a lot of them, in addition to the passion being tied to like a problem that they're trying to solve or a sport that they really love. And so there's also these incredible moments we do in the Slack community where we have like community wins at the end of the month, and people are like, I got featured in Nat Geo, or like, I got on Shark Tank. Like, that's incredible. Or, you know, I got my first VC or whatever. Like, there's so many wins that happen along the way too. So it really is a roller coaster. There's definitely a lot of hardship, and there's so much ownership and fulfillment also. So it's both and yes, and I don't know, improv. Exactly. That's what it is. It's improv.
I think that's a key part of it. Like, people wouldn't be doing it if there wasn't some sort of incentive, that it wasn't fun, it wasn't exciting, interesting, solving a problem that probably the founders themselves had. And the whole point of solving a problem is to make being outside, in most cases, a lot more enjoyable than it already is. So you do get these amazing upsides. And again, all this stuff that we're doing outside is sort of passion driven. We ride bikes, or we run, or we rock climb, or whatever, because that's what we do for fun. And I think keeping that sort of front and center is also a very important element when it comes to this thing, and reminding each other why we do all this stuff that we do. Why do I do a reign of terror to edit this video? It's because I love biking, and if I can put this video out, I get to ride some more.
Yeah.
So,
But there's also this impact that they have that's a ripple effect too, right? It's like they can see in their hands a prototype that they thought of in their mind and is solving a problem for people who are surfing. And big brands don't have that same like closeness to product and closeness to customers too, if we're being honest. And so there's this, like Katie was saying, it's like they're almost doing R&D for the entire outdoor industry in their little space, which is pretty admirable. But then it also like creates these other things. If they're guides, if they're creating experiences for people, that unlocks all these interesting opportunities for businesses and local communities that aren't even in the outdoor space. Maybe they're increasing their jobs. Maybe they're increasing tourism in that area. Or, you know, they're increasing the ability for people who have historically not been able to get outside as much to go outside. And what impact does that have on their careers, their family life? You know, it's just this ripple effect that has such profound impact. And I know I'm getting on my soapbox here, but I say to Katie all the time, it's like, this is such meaningful work because the ripple effect is so visible and obvious when you really like sit down and look at it. So big ups to all of them, all of the people in our community, and anyone who's hoping to start in the future. Yeah.
I want to continue with this optimistic approach, because I think people need to hear that. We need to
Yes.
we need to have that conversation. And I'd love to hear, you know, what are the things that get you excited right now? I mean, surely there are all kinds of machinations in the industry, but what are the signs that you're seeing that are getting you excited about the year ahead?
I can add some thoughts and then Katie can jump in, but as it's probably not too surprising that we are having a lot of conversations with our founders and our members about tariffs and uncertainty in the economic landscape. But while we're having these events about this, we're getting this other view of this time, this uncertainty, and that is the opportunity to build a more resilient company, to figure out, go back to your why, to really get rooted in the foundation of why you started this thing. So to say I'm excited about tariffs is not true, but I'm excited that at least in our community, it feels like while there is so much uncertainty, it's creating this need to be creative and need to pivot and need to maybe try other things, try other products, like try other designs, things like that. And I think that on the other side of whatever shit show we're in right now, we could see some very cool innovations coming from these smaller brands that maybe wouldn't have been possible if they had so much certainty and direction earlier in 2025. That's my take on the positivity side. What about you, Katie?
I like that. I think hard times are conducive to creativity and innovation. One thing that I'm really excited about is the investment that we're hearing about on behalf of local communities in small businesses. When we were in Alabama, we heard overwhelming energy for supporting outdoor businesses. And the reasons that they mentioned were, one, outdoor businesses are an important unlock, important gateway for people to get outside, whether that be through knowledge or access to equipment or community or infrastructure. Uh, Community leaders are also recognizing that they are important job creators. And when there's more outdoor businesses, when there's more access to the outdoors, it improves quality of life of residents. The residents are healthier, they're happier, people stay, they lose less talent, people move to those communities, and it's opportunity for tourism, which means more heads and beds at local hotels and more business at local restaurants. And so I'm really optimistic about there being a movement nationally to support outdoor businesses as an important mechanism for increasing outdoor infrastructure. And also thinking about more people are accessing the outdoors. How is that going to drive the industry forward? I think it's going to increase the overall participant base.
I feel like Bentonville was a giant case study in motion, and I'm sure that the people from Alabama who are now investing heavily in outdoors and in trails and everything that we've seen so far have taken a page out of their book. I saw something like $150 million annual tourism to the Bentonville area just for the mountain bikes and the trails and stuff there. And it's cool to see, the case study happen. And surely, there were other factors at play that like really made that area take off. But seeing other states, actual states invest, like, okay, we can do that. We can do a version of that here, and we can open the door for that here. We see the impact that it has on the local economy. We see like you said, the impact on jobs and people moving and staying and stuff like that. I think we're going to see that. Ideally, we see that cascading effect from this one case study wasn't just meaningful for Bentonville, Arkansas. It was necessary and important for the entire country to pick that up and say like, oh, it's the same thing as when Whistler Bike Park opened up, and all of a sudden, fast forward a couple years, they had more people coming to Whistler in the summer than in the winter. And then every other resort in the world realized that they needed to have a bike park. And that was great for the mountain bikers out there. I think in a similar way, Bentonville will probably have broken ground for many, many states to invest in local trail infrastructure and a lot of other things for exactly the same reason. Bentonville had this huge spike in travel and interest and businesses moving there. Why couldn't we do that in Alabama? Why couldn't we do that in Maine? Why couldn't we do that? You name it. Like, the opportunity has now been established, and I'm super excited about that. That's my optimism.
Yeah, and it also takes evangelists, right? Like, we were just in Alabama, so this is like very fresh. But I'm from upstate New York. Maybe I'm a northeast elitist, but like, I don't think of a lot of states besides the Mountain West as like the outdoorsy states, right? Maybe I think of Vermont and New Hampshire a little bit. But this completely changed my perspective of what's possible for those states too. And what's really cool is that there's all these little groups of people who are all working towards the same goal. So we have the people who are trying to like help the ecosystem of business owners. So how can we get them more resources? How can we get them more grants, programming, mentorship, things like that? Then in that state in particular, and I think across other states too, there's a lot of university incubator programs that are prioritizing outdoor businesses as well. And then there's the folks that are like, yeah, Alabama is amazing, and we want more people to know about that. And me and Katie looked at each other and we're like, are we moving here? Like, what is happening? Like, we both like where we live, but I mean, I live in Colorado. This is like, the mecca of outdoor stuff. And I was like, this could be it. I could live here for sure. It's beautiful and incredible. And I just hope that other states follow suit. And that's another point of positivity, is that so many more states have outdoor businesses alliances now. Outdoor business alliances. That sounded hard to say, like all in one sentence, but What they have is they have more infrastructure to help outdoors businesses in particular. Like we're going beyond just academic development agencies and going beyond small business development centers and stuff like that to be very specific to the space. So that is also very hopeful because that means that founders in all kinds of states will get more resources, hopefully through that.
In sort of this meta approach to that, because you've been working specifically with the brands being founded, the businesses being founded, but there are now sort of this other layer of state investment and sort of government investment, or whatever you want to call it, that are trying to also support this. How do you interface with them? Because it seems like there's actually a really great opportunity for Founded Outdoors to play a role in maybe providing some level of support there, or even education to those government groups that are trying to essentially follow suit from what you've done so far.
Yeah. Well, the answer is we try to partner with them. So, and the way that we do that is we will do a needs assessment to better understand what the specific needs are of businesses in their states. And then we will suggest different types of programming depending on those needs. That could look like workshops, it could look like pitch events, it could look like funding fairs. And then some of that will facilitate. And so we do all different kinds of workshop series for outdoor entrepreneurs in partnership with state groups. We do, for example, a workshop series on brand and marketing, a workshop series on funding paths. And ultimately, we want to be able to share knowledge with these state groups and share best practices and what we've learned about successfully supporting businesses. And they've been great partners, and the knowledge sharing has certainly gone both ways.
You offer up a lot to a lot of people out there in the industry, and these founders are getting a ton of support, I think. But you can't do it all. Is there anything out there that if you could just wave a magic wand, you would unlock that maybe you currently can't do?
Ooh. Yeah, like we have a whole list of things we could do for them. I'll share a few and then Katie, you can go. But the first of which is that I think there's a general need for these small businesses in the outdoor industry to have a bigger seat at the table of making decisions for regulations, but also like getting some sort of preferential treatment when it comes to like trade shows and different agreements that, they're smaller businesses. They can't pay what the North Face can pay to like go to these trade shows if they are desiring that as part of their business model. So advocating for them on that low level, but then advocating that for them at the state and potentially federal level as well. So I think that's a big need. We often joke that like it feels like this group, they are so cool to us, but like it feels like there's a cool kids table of the outdoor industry, and that's the big brands, and then everyone else is just kind of on the outside, and it's like, what do we do over here? So trying to find spaces for them to really plug in and get maybe not the same treatment as ones like the North Face, like Patagonia, that have these huge reserves of cash that they can play around with, but that have some sort of equality to them. So that would be the first thing that I would say. And then I think the second thing I would say, which isn't entirely off the table forever, I don't think, for Founded Outdoors, but is like so many of our founders want to get into specialty retail and large wholesale locations, and they are too small for sales reps to consider them. And so there's this like mismatch of them having to do so much upfront work to just get, one meeting with the Dick's buyer or the REI buyer. And that's also really kind of fluctuating right now with the market too, what they're bringing into their stores. And then the specialty retail side, like your, brick and mortars of your favorite local gear shop, those can be challenging too. And you kind of have to know a lot of strategy to go down that road, speaking of many hats. So I think it could be great if there was some way to have a nice, solid roster of sales reps, or even just like a middleman in general, that could help these smaller brands get into more retail without them having to offer the same incentives as larger brands for the sales reps.
That's really interesting in how you might connect the dots in a deeper way to offer up even more. I mean, already there's plenty of reasons to join this crew, but like that's I mean, to offer up something that they all probably desperately need to have in terms of support, and to take that off the plate with a super pro team, and then the momentum that would likely come from that. I guess in that same vein, you know, is there have you thought about, and I'm sure, this has been asked a billion times, but like, in terms of even funding these brands as sort of like a VC type thing, would that ever be something that Founded Outdoors would take on, or are you intentionally avoiding that because you're doing everything else? I mean, how does that fit in?
Yeah, good question, Erin. Hard question. One of the things that I was going to mention that I would love to see is more financing options for these outdoor businesses, especially because there's so little venture capital in the outdoor space. But I don't think venture capital is the answer for most of these businesses. I don't think they have the type of growth that lends itself well to the venture capital model. I would like to see more available loans from community banks, more grants, more alternative financing options. We spent a lot of time trying to figure out, could we offer an alternative financing options, and ultimately we haven't yet. It's something that we continue to explore in the future, but we certainly see the need for it because financing is so important for these companies, right? It's important to getting inventory. It's important to making key hires. It's important to be able to withstand cash crunches and regulatory uncertainty. And so I would love to see some new financing options out there. The other thing I'll say is it would be amazing if there were factories in the United States that had the skills and the tooling and the price points to make it possible for outdoor businesses to manufacture here. In our community, 40% of our product companies manufacture in China. They're all having to look at, how do I diversify my supply chain? Many of them have looked into the United States, and it just hasn't been possible. They don't have the right tooling. They can't do small enough purchase orders. It's really, really expensive. The lead times are too long. The communication's not great. And so I would love to see some better options for companies to be able to produce their goods here.
Very cool. Yeah, lots. There's no shortage.
Do you want
of
to take
stuff.
that on, Erin, or can you just get a quick business plan going and you can help us out?
I mean, we recently on the loan thing. I think that's really a fascinating option. And we were talking to Alex King from Terragnota not too long ago, and he was talking about how Shopify actually has an option where they kind of see what's moving through your platform, and then they offer up some options. I don't know how good the Shopify program actually is, but when I went to go look up the show notes and pull this stuff together, I got hit with like 50 other options of financing through Shopify and some of the other platforms and stuff like that. So it does appear that there are options, but how good those options are, I can't really speculate.
Yeah, and some of those options are very expensive. Like I've heard that Shopify financing can be very convenient, but the rates are very expensive. So that's the thing that you have to consider when you're getting money from these different sources. And so we would love to see an affordable financing option for outdoor businesses.
Yeah. Well, onwards and upwards. I think there's so many opportunities. There's so many things to explore, but for people to have a community, for people to have the mentorship, the direction, the guidance, the access to just even people that are asking them the right questions to help them grow their business in the right thing. I think what Founded Outdoors is doing is really pretty incredible. And I'm really happy that we finally got a chance to have you on the podcast to talk through this. I know there's so many founders in the audience that are already part of what you're doing there. And we've interviewed a few of them on the podcast already, and hopefully we'll have some more as they continue to develop their businesses.
Yeah. Before we get to anything else, I just want to say too, if anyone's not a founder, not going to be a founder, and not able to like be an angel investor, which I'm sure there's many, if you're just a layperson who wants to support more of the small businesses, like every time you're about to buy a gear item for your next adventure, I just want you to think in your head, like, do I need to get this from Amazon, or, well, you can if it's a small business, but or can I find a small business in the outdoor space that can do that for me? And I am almost going to guarantee there's probably a small business working on the exact thing that you need. Some technical gear, maybe not, but just want to call that out as a way that like you could be part of supporting small businesses without, angel investing or founding yourself.
Vote with your dollars, right?
Vote with your dollar. Yeah, it's not a new concept, but just like next time you're going on an adventure, just think about it like that.
That's such a good call out, and something that I think we sometimes we get in a rush and we don't think about that kind of thing. But
Yep.
this is the thing that we love the most. And when you see these brands come and go, you're like, how come that one didn't stick around? And it's like, well, did you buy stuff from them? Oh, it's like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That's 100% it. When you see something and you want to support somebody's effort, that's the way to do it. Like it's so simple, but it's really so easy to like, oh, I'll wait. It's yeah.
And Cassie Abel, who is the CEO and founder of Wild Rye, she was on Second Nature, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
She started an initiative called Women Led Wednesday many years ago, but I believe that website, it's designed to be like the day before Thanksgiving, sort of like in the Black Friday, Cyber Monday type of week. But that website is up all year long, and that just has a like repository, basically of women outdoor businesses. So if you want to also even go the further length of women outdoor businesses, or more manually, shoot me a little DM, and I'm happy to recommend a company from the community.
I will also put the link to Women Led Wednesdays in the show notes. That way people can go scroll through. There's a lot of brands actually in there. I think
it's hundreds at this point. Yeah. So it's really good stuff in there. And there's some relatively good like searchability in there too. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. That's the perfect thing to close this up on. So, we always end every episode with a segment we like to call BPC, brand product content. So you two are the guests. Emily, Katie, what you got?
Sure. Okay. My favorite newsletter to read, the one that I read religiously, is Jen Gurecki's newsletter. She's the founder of Coalition Snow. And it's so good. She is very real and candid and open. She talks about being in the outdoor industry, having an outdoor business, being a feminist, social justice issues, how to navigate social justice issues as someone with both dominant and marginalized identities. She is someone I look to for guidance in how to be an entrepreneur, a supporter of entrepreneurs, and a person in this world.
Awesome.
She's so rad. Yeah. Do you want to go next, Aaron, or do you want me to go?
Go for it.
Okay. I'm going to do 2 because I'm an overachiever. 3 on the Enneagram scale, if anyone knows. So product, I'm going to name one of our founders in our community. They make what's called the surf bag. Kathy and Marlene are the co-founders, and they make this bag that is totally waterproof inside. And what they were founding when they were going out surfing or doing any water sports is that they wanted to bring snacks out with them, but didn't want to get them wet. And of course, there's some waterproof bag stuff out there, but nothing that really fit and could like clip on to their gear or their bathing suit or something like that. So they use recycled, or like airlines get rid of old, oh my God, what are the words? Airlines get rid of old life jackets. Like they retire them after a while. So they use old life jackets from airplanes to create these waterproof bags that you can take out on all your water sport adventures. So that's called the surf bag. Very cool.
That's cool.
And then from a content perspective, I'm going to go totally not outdoor industry, and I'm just going to show my basic nature. And I personally, because the world is upside down, I love watching reaction videos on YouTube. And my favorite guy is HT Hayes. He reacts to all the pop girlies that I love. And it's just funny. It's wholesome. It's a good time. I like how he talks about music. And I love a pop diva. And that's just a whole nother part of my personality that no one needs to know about that much. And it really brings me a lot of comfort. So right now I'm about to move. I'm in kind of a weird headspace. And so I've been watching a lot of his Taylor Swift videos and just like having a laugh, feeling goofy, having fun.
I'm also going through a similar era, but
An era.
yeah, my daughter is all Taylor Swift and Benson Booned out. So
Oh my gosh.
Yes,
I'm just
Benson
getting
Boone.
blasted with all of it right now.
Yeah. Benson Boone is incredible. And how does he wear such tight pants? I just don't know.
Especially doing flips.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I saw he did a Freddie Mercury thing at Coachella, and yeah,
Yes,
big
I
Freddie
watched that
Mercury
too. Is
Yep.
our algorithm the same because of your daughter? How embarrassing for me.
The reaction video thing is really interesting though. I feel like there's not a lot of reaction video in the outdoor space, but it's something that absolutely crushes everywhere else. And I wonder if people are afraid to do it because the industry is so small. But I also wonder if like maybe that could be a necessary element to really like keep people pushing forward and keep people honest. I don't know.
Yeah, like what could we react to? Like very serious, like over the top serious brand films that like take themselves too seriously. Oh, I know I have an idea. Is this a galaxy brain now?
Galaxy Brain, here we go.
Okay, here's the idea. Every time Real Rock comes around, which if people don't know, it's a rock climbing film festival, you could do like a drinking game reaction thing where every time Alex Honnold is mentioned in the videos, you like have to do something where it's like, or when the story arc is the same of like, oh, I was just wasn't good at school, and so I really like to rock climb, and then I got into rock climbing, and then but my project was too hard and so hard, and then I did it, and that's the whole video. And I would just like some reactions to that, and some maybe even lay people doing it. That would be great.
I feel like there's something here. There's something here.
You guys are like deadpan, and so I know that my idea is not good, and I'm gonna back it up.
Oh,
I
amazing.
believe in you, Emily. I think you're onto something.
Yeah. I'm here for any and all new ideas, doubly so if they came from a galaxy brain. So
Okay, great.
we're good.
All right,
There's-
hit us, Aaron.
There's no wrong idea. Okay. I brought a little prop. So I have the Momentous sleep pouch. So I don't know about you, but I'm trying to like literally make every second of my life as optimized as I possibly can. I wake up at like 5 and I start working out, and then I like work, and then I rip my kids to school and then come back and like try to do as much as I possibly can throughout the day. But also like, yeah, like sleep also very important. And so I'm like tracking my sleep with my Aura ring, and I'm trying to go to bed early and doing the eye mask, the mouth tape, all this stuff. And I've been using like the Momentous protein for ages, and all their other stuff. And I started talking to somebody that worked there, and they sent me a bag of these sleep pouches, and it's like a handful of pills that you take right before you go to bed. And I saw my Aura like data just go through the roof when I started using these things. I don't know exactly it's like magnesium, L-theanine, stuff like that, but like these little pouches just like game changer for me. All of a sudden I just saw my stats improve, and I was like, oh, okay, here's like another thing I can do to just optimize a little bit more. So
Yeah, okay, I like that.
shout out to the friends at Momentous that hooked me up. But honestly, yeah, every little like incremental thing I can add to make everything go a little bit smoother, why not?
Yeah. Well, I have a great suggestion for you. You should watch some reaction videos of Taylor Swift because that makes the day go a lot smoother. I have a question though about the Aura Ring. Do you feel like you're getting better sleep in addition to the data, or is it like a chicken and egg where it's like I see the data and then I think, yes, I got good sleep. I feel so rested. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I think that the data is really interesting because sometimes I don't feel great and the data tells me that I did great, and sometimes I feel really good and the data says the opposite. And I think you sort of have to take that rolling average. And what I can tell you is that over the past week or so of using this little sleep packet thing, I'm just feeling slightly better, and my data is looking like dramatically better. So
We love data.
I just feel like, okay, it's definitely doing something and I definitely feel better. But also like there is so much variation throughout days and nights and stuff like that. It's hard to really know. But I think like if I just keep making like positive gains over time, I mean, you're not gonna have like, I don't know, some game changing thing where like you have one great night of sleep and all is right with the world. But if I can just like consistently get a little bit better every night, then I think it's worth it.
Yeah, fair enough.
I
I
got
think
like
that's, yeah.
6 or 7 years of aura data at this point. So you can see like if something starts moving in the right direction, you're like, oh, finally, like it's been stuck here and now it's going this direction. Like something is definitely happening. Cause I think that's it too, of like sometimes things kind of stagnate out with your data. And then all of a sudden you see like a change and you're like, okay, something's happening. It's actually working.
This is the founder journey that you're talking about right now. Basically, like you're just slogging along and then finally something happens and it's working.
Yeah. Yeah. And wouldn't you know it, it's a magical pill.
Yeah. It's just a baggie of pills that I don't know what they are.
Amazing. Well, thank you both for being on the podcast today. I've got a long list of really great stuff that I'll put in the show notes. And yeah, looking forward to continuing watching not only your success, but all the people that are working with you as well. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you for having us, Erin.
We said that at the same time. Cute.
Jinx.